Hello. This time I'm going to be focusing on marrying outside the faith, Book of Ruth, and we're just sharing thoughts. I was looking for ways to present this video, but trying the best way I can. I know that there are other scriptures in the New Testament that talk about marrying outside the church, but I'm going to start from this one, the Book of Ruth, talking about marrying outside the church. So, from what we know from the book of Ruth, in verse 1, it says, "Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his two sons." So, what we learned from the scripture is they went into the land of Moab because of a famine. Now, you see, this is the circumstances that happen. And so, right there from the go, they are going to a country of Moab. Now, the Moabites were like their enemies. So, this was an economic reason. You want to go to a place where you can survive and have a better life. So, that's what this is really all about, really. Naomi's husband died in the story, and she and her two sons were left. They took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them, and the woman was left of her two sons and her husband. So this is what you see here, marrying outside the faith. So you see Ruth and Orpah was Moabite women. Due to the circumstances of the famine, they being in Moab, they couldn't find an Israelite person to marry. So they married outside the faith. Then she arose with her daughters in law that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. So here is what's going on now. She hears that bread is actually in her country. Now she hears that things are going well in her own country where God is actually blessing them and giving them bread. So you see what's going on. First, there's a famine. Now things have picked up. And like in any economic situation, right? Things got picked up. She thought to go back. She said, "Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law." So you see, she's going back. She's telling her daughter to go back and follow her sister-in-law back to her country and back to her people and back to her gods, her back to her gods. So the idea is go back to your gods. You see, the Moabite gods were different than the Israelite God, because in Moab, you had gods that you serve of wood and stone and all that. And you had the true God, which they all served in Israel. And so these women, being this, they would have learned about Israel. They would have learned about the God of Israel, right? So Naomi saying, I can't understand. My perspective, you know, it wouldn't be wise to send them back to their country, to their own gods, because you know the true God. Why would you want them to go back to a false God? I know you don't want me to question anything. I know that lots of people don't like to question things, but I question things. If you know that the Israelite God is the only God that you should serve, you shouldn't be sending them back under a false God or gods. So That's not good at all. But see, Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. So the other sister in law that went back to her gods, as for Ruth, she did not go back to her gods. She says, the people, my people, and thy God, my God. You see, there is a difference, when you adapt the religion of someone else, after a while, if you become to love the people and love the God that those people serve, then I guess you would want to cling onto that God and cling onto that people. And this is what it is. So in many people in the Bible, they married outside the faith, and those people joined the faith. In our minds, we would probably think, oh yeah, Ruth was converted, she joined the faith. That's what you would say, yeah. As for the other sister-in-law, she went back to her gods. You can see she was once with her husband, right? And now that her husband is dead, her mother-in-law sent her home. She going back to her gods. What happened to the Israelite God that she was serving, or she was supposed to serve? You see? So my question that I'm thinking now is, how do we know if a person is sincerely following God? How do you know? You might have to see their fruits. Fruits as in you have to see their behavior, their works. You have to see the changes in their life. You must see that the Spirit of God is working in their life. They must not just be there just because of you. And that's what I'm thinking. You see, the other sister-in-law was probably there because she's married to that man and that husband. And now Naomi is going home now. She goes back home with Ruth. She married an Israelite husband. Now that he's gone, she had the opportunity to turn around and go back to her country, to her people, and to her gods. She didn't do it. I really think that when you get someone to join you and to join the faith, because you see, what I want to talk about is the circumstances that we humans face. What we want is a perfect scenario that happens where, oh, the person is in the church, or they joined the church, God somehow converted them, and now you can marry them and that's it. But in this situation, they went to a land where the gods that they were serving were not God of Israel. So they took them wives. Those wives would either have the option to serve the same God that they're serving, or kept to their own gods. You see, so you can still see Ruth had the option of choosing to serve God, and she chose to serve God. And I want to just tell you a story. One day I spoke to a guy, and when I spoke to him, he told me, he goes to church because of his wife, and he just goes with her. I find this to be a problem because he's going there because of her. He's not going there because of him. You see the difference that I'm trying to make here? If you found someone right now, they're not of the faith right now, and they come and they join the church, you want them to be like, oh, I'm going because I am a Christian, and I'm serving the Lord, not because, oh, I'm going because of my wife, or I'm going because of my husband. You see, it becomes about the partner and not the God that they're serving. For this situation, you're looking at Ruth after the husband is dead, after Naomi's going home. She had the opportunity to go and serve the other gods there in her country. See, that's the difference here. And if we look at the human modern time that we're living in right now, That same guy who was just going there for his wife. What happens when the wife is dead? What's he going to do now? Is he going to still go to church? Because he was going there for her and not the God. You see what I mean? And so that's what I'm trying to bring out in the story. So for Ruth, she chose to stay with Naomi. She chose to be amongst God's people and to serve the God. And that's what you want. You want someone to be there, not because of you only, that they're going with you, but you want them to go because they actually love the God. I mean, marrying someone outside the church is, it can happen, and God can genuinely be behind it. And then you have another scenario where the person is not actually changed, not converted at all. They joined because of you. And so they're there because of you. The moment you're gone, they are not in church anymore. So when a partner joins the church, you want them to be there, converted to God, and to serve Him even after you die. So you do want them to be saved. You want them to be in heaven one day. You want to come to the end and recognize that that husband or that wife made heaven. Just like I said, the famine was the circumstances that led to this. But you might want to say there's a famine in church for men, or the type of godly men, or some of those relationships did not work out. You got some Christians, they've had relationships outside the church with others. They brought them in, it worked out. The ones where you come in and it's like, oh yeah, I really want to serve God because of God. You're there, and I'm happy that you're there, and I'm going to church with you, but I'm not going because of you. You see, that's the difference. So, you remember the genealogy of Jesus, and you got Boaz begot Obed of Ruth. So you can see Ruth, the Moabite woman, she's in the genealogy.